Well, I want to share with you a short thought. Really, there's not much thinking, a lot of argument to get into this, but we're talking about arguments for evolution are outdated and often illogical. We're looking at fossil man. And the thing that I want to bring up to you, and if you want to jot this down or perhaps take a picture of the screen as they show you, I'm going to give you some examples of anti-evolution fossil finding, and some of these haven't even been fossilized. But here's the fact. Bones of modern-looking humans, you catch that, have been found deep in undisturbed rocks that, according to evolution, were formed long before man began to evolve. So you get down into this strata of the earth, into that pre-Cambrian soil, before life began, before man began to evolve. And here's modern skeletons. For example, and here's the first word, if you're going to remember it, castanedolo. Castanedolo. So look at it and copy. If you want to do any research, see pictures and stuff. Those skeletons present evolutionists with a difficult dilemma. Arthur Keith, in his book Antiquity of Man, he's an evolutionist. Here's what he says. As the student of prehistoric man reads and studies the records of the Castanedolo find, a feeling of incredulity, unbelief, rises within him. Now notice, two choices. He cannot reject the discovery as false without doing injury to his sense of truth. I mean, they just found it like they find anything else. And he cannot accept it as a fact without shattering his accepted beliefs in evolution. So he says, this is the thing that does it. It shatters the belief. So, after examining the strata above and below the Castanedolo skeletons, and after finding no indication that they were intrusively buried, Keith surprisingly concluded that they were intrusively buried. Somebody got them in there after they had evolved, see. He justified this by citing the unfossilized condition of the bones. However, fossils are where bones have been buried, sand and sediment form around it, they become a hard rock. And so the bones are encased in rock. As the bone then eventually decays, it is filled in with the drips of the calcium and other things dripping through the sandstone. And so it fills it up layer by layer, cell by cell, and becomes its own hard thing. So the fossils that you see aren't bones. They're God-made forms cast in the place where the bones were. This was, however, real bones, but it says these bones were encased in a clay layer. Large amounts of dissolved materials could not get into the bone cells. So there was no possibility of it becoming a fossil. This explains the lack of fossilization. Now another example is Rex skeleton, R-E-C-K, apostrophe S, and possibly others. Cousins, and that's a name, Cousins and Whitney state that the Calaveras skull was fossilized. However, this does not mean that it was pre-flood. It could be later. Fossilization depends much more on chemistry than age. And so some things are fossilized even since the flood. For many years, a story circulated that the Calaveras skull, buried 130 feet below ground, was a practical joke. This is a very limited joke, only to evolutionists, you see. Yeah, they'll get a kick out of this. They dig down 130 feet, and insert a skull in there and say, just wait till they find this. What kind of a joke is that? This tidy explanation conveniently overlooks what else they found down there. The hundreds of human bones and artifacts, such as spearheads, mortars, this is where you grind things, and pestles, mortar and pestle. That pestle is the thing you pound on. And dozens of bowls made of stone. All the trappings of civilization found in that part of California. These artifacts have been found over the years under undisturbed strata and a layer of basaltic lava that evolutionists would date at 25 million years old. Too old to be human. Looking it up in the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Swanscombe skull. There's another word for you, Swanscombe skull. Human fossil remnants consisting of 3 large cranial bones, 2 parietals and an occipital, of a young female found in well-stratified gravels of the River Thames, I guess, at Swanscombe in Kent, England. Discovered in 1935, 36, and 55, the remains were dated to about 300,000 years ago by chemical tests and by association with animal remains and the Acheulean hand axes also found at the site. So here, this fully human-formed skull predates the Neanderthals and is usually classified as an archaic Homo sapiens, regular Homo sapien as of today, called something here, Heidelbergensis. So such remains as the Swanscombe skull, the Steinheim fossil, another name to look up, and Vertezolos fossil present similar problems. So what do they do with this? Evolutionists almost always ignore these remains. What are you talking about? We don't know that. We don't know anything about that. That doesn't fit our scheme, so we don't believe it. Our fact checkers have said it's not right. So you heard that Facebook is eliminating third-party fact checkers. So depending on who you are depending on to say the fact, it ended up it was quite a political move. You can't talk about that. So what's his name, Zuckerberg, says, I'm happy to see opening up discussion again.